Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon. Hope everybody's doing great. Let's get this thing loaded up real quick. Give me just a moment. Thank you for your patience. Cool. What's up? Happy Tuesday. Well, wonderful viewers. Welcome to another captivating episode of the Know Your Pharmacist live stream. I'm your host, Dr. Joaquin Acosta, CEO of Pharmtrue, and I'm thrilled to connect with each and every single one of you tonight. Our mission: to enlighten, engage, and empower. Proactive, not reactive. Tonight, we're diving deep into the heart of health and wellness. We're going to explore the profound insights from Dr. Libby. She's pretty unique and an awesome doctor here in our international community, And we're going to be going over her tips to prevent accelerating aging. Very, very interesting stuff. Ever wondered about the effectiveness of video versus text in educating about things like hypertension? Well, we've got some of the answers for you guys, especially in this new digital age, on how people, truly learn. And for those seeking a deeper connection between the mind, brain, and body, prepare for a transformative journey into the power of thought. But that's not all. We're going to delve deep into the preparedness of Canadian nurses in the realm of herbal use, which, yes, we're talking about cannabis, and also rally behind a heartfelt community initiative. It's going to be very important to talk about, healthcare providers and their, preparedness when it comes to things like cannabis. And of course, we will also explore the healing power of laughter, a medicine we all need to dose a dose of. Together, guys, let's go ahead and brainstorm, collaborate, and create a space where knowledge meets passion, where science meets love, and where every moment is both interesting and captivating. Big shout out to all our sponsors who make this possible: Pharmtrue, High Horse, the Tricom Alliance, and Vado Speedway Park. So whether you're here for expert insights, community stories, or just a dose of positivity, you're in the right place. Let's get started on this journey, guys. Jumping into the first video to watch. Going to be showing a little bit about Dr. Libby. I think she's a pretty unique, doctor here. She calls it, this is her talking about promoting her beauty guide and stuff for women. And again, I'm really just talking about her overall perspective, and it'll segue into the later segments of the show as well. It's unique, to say the least. All right, getting all the screen fixed up properly there. Cool.
For too many women, their first waking thought each morning is, what can I or can't I eat today? What will I or won't I eat today? How much exercise can I get done today? And they feel that they're in this never-ending battle between food and movement, and feeling like they always eat too much and that they never move enough. For so many women, they perceive that they've got to eat like little birds and exercise like maniacs to get anywhere, and that's just not the case. When I stopped running for an hour a day and swapped it for Tai Chi, my clothes were supposed to get tighter, and the exact opposite happened. And it was actually that experience, coupled with what I was noticing in more and more of my clients, that led me to go back to my geeky biochemistry textbooks with the question in my mind: what leads the human body to get the message?
Excuse me, guys, this is on the phone. This is the interview.
Decoding our body's secret messages. That's what's at the heart of best-selling author Dr. Libby's 12th book, The Beauty Guide. That's been launched today. She's here to share her top tips to help prevent accelerated aging. Good morning, Dr. Libby.
Good morning, Hayley.
So 12 books. That is amazing. What motivates you to keep writing these?
Well, there's a lot more. I've got a lot more to say, I think, but it's when I hear what people talk to me about where they're suffering, I want to help them make a difference to that. So hence all of the books. And this new one with the Beauty Guide, it's not just about having better hair, skin and nails. There's a much deeper conversation about our self-perceptions, the culture of comparison that we're all experiencing these days too.
So it is the Beauty Guide, but as you say, it goes deeper than the skin. Explain that for us.
So I think a lot of us, not everybody cares about their health, which is sort of unfathomable to me, to be honest, but although I do get it, but most people care about how they look. So the way that we age is often a reflection of the choices that we're making, and a good way to picture it is the body is made up of 50 trillion tiny little circles, and every circle, every cell in the body wants to eat, and then it's got to be able to eliminate waste. And the quality of the nutrients that the cells get plays a massive role in whether we see the ageing rapidly or not. Everyone ages, of course, but it's whether it's debilitating or rapid that we need to minimise.
So what can cause debilitating ageing, as you say?
So a huge challenge for so many people today is just literally not getting enough nutrients. So whether there's not enough nutrients in the soils, whether people are relying too much on processed and takeaway food, but it's also the job of the gut and the liver to detoxify potentially problematic substances that we might be exposed to. Sadly, there's more pollutants in the world these days. Some of them we can do things about and others we can't. Like we can't change how many cars are on the road, for example. So supporting the digestive system and the liver to eliminate what we're exposed to is really important.
Isn't some ageing just down to genes, though?
Some of it, the genes definitely contribute without doubt, but the choices we make have a big impact. So do our hormones, and they're things that we can actually influence. When I actually asked the people on my email database what they cared about learning about most, and it was hormones. So I'm touring New Zealand at the moment talking about hormones, because when they are out of balance, it changes our skin, it changes our energy, it changes whether we can think clearly, and of course for women it changes what's happening with their reproduction and whether menopause is debilitating or not.
Do you think that as you evolve in your career, the books are evolving with you? Now we're talking about accelerated ageing and women's hormones.
Yeah. Is that what? Absolutely, and I think too the people. I feel like people age with me, obviously, and share with me their concerns and what they want to know about. And we're not supposed to suffer with our reproductive system. Menopause is not supposed to be debilitating, and I want to give people the choices and the options to make that a pleasurable process, not something that's a big challenge.
What's one of the main things you'd like people to take away from this book?
So we always feel like there's something we've got to change, and I think a big part of juice and joy in life is appreciating what's happening right now. Lots of people spend lots of time pursuing things, whereas if we let ourselves have what we already have, it fosters an incredible joy, and that beauty is really a light in someone's eyes, and you can see when it's there. So let yourself have what you already have, because it's what joy is all about, and that gives us brilliant energy I think we need great energy for a great quality life.
So that's about gratitude, but when you're on social media these days, it's really quite difficult to accept what you've got as being okay. You talk about this in the book, don't you?
Very much so. So this culture of comparison is really concerning. Probably not that long ago we cared about what 5 or 10 people thought of us. Perhaps our parents, a teacher we thought was excellent, our best friend, our tennis coach. But now people care about what thousands of people think of them, and some of them are strangers. And that can have a lot of stress these days for people comes from worrying what other people think of them. So as we scroll through, I think it's really important to remember that some of those things potentially aren't attainable in nature, and to appreciate the incredible strengths that we all have.
Do you advocate for a different kind of beauty than what you might see on social media? Because if you're saying, you know, we need to be grateful for what we've got and have happy hormones, etc., but then you're still talking about being beautiful.
So the book redefines beauty, I hope. So I want people to get clear on what it is for them. For some people, beauty, I think, is probably freedom. For others, it is that light, that energy. When we have great energy, I think it doesn't just illuminate the person, it illuminates everyone they come into contact with. So I'm trying to start a new conversation around beauty to move it away from that physical external appearance.
Well, if you're anyone to go by, it definitely works. I feel illuminated in your presence. Thank you so much, Dr. Libby Weaver.
You're a beautiful soul. Thank you, Hayley.
Remember, if you want to get in touch, we would love to hear from you. Our Facebook page is...
So, pretty cool. You know, September is, again, Healthy Aging Month, guys, and, you know, redefining where Dr. Libby's talking about redefining what beauty may be to you, right? And how, you know, she even said there at the end, beauty for some people may be freedom or anything like that. But Dr. Libby, on top of this, she's got a lot of great online content. I'm gonna link her stuff right here in the notes, guys. You know, she's got a lot of good perspective things as well, right, as, you know, the valuable, you know, relevant doctor stuff that goes behind that when she's talking about hormones and all the other things in her courses as well, drlibby.com, you know, where she can, you know, really balance that what is nowadays regenerative medicine, where you're looking at, you know, optimal nutrition, making sure you're getting all your optimal nutrients correct, making sure your hormones are balanced at the same time correct, having a proper, control of the mind and gratefulness towards life, right? And that in all that regard combines for a really, really, really positive aging experience. So again, drlibby.com. For whatever reason, my chat is actually not loading. So sorry guys, I cannot post drlibby.com in there, but again, drlibby.com. So cool, moving on guys into our tech talk. So again, as we talk about here, how exactly do, for instance, we learn? I want to get into, talking about how we take data, we take new information, and we actually, can theoretically be presented to learn better. Well, I was looking at some data here and things like, the way boomers learn, right? Boomers typically are going to learn a little bit better in person versus your Gen Zers and stuff. But how do you make that connection in, the broadest effect for the entirety of everybody? Well, an interesting little, study here that I'm going to go over with you guys, just showing how this connection did make sense in a lot of different ways here for a study talking about, hypertension and, excuse me while I fix the screen, and education, right? So using social media to educate about hypertension, this one was specifically looking about Instagram. And granted, this is streamed on Instagram, right? But I also use other platforms. And I think the key, we will talk about the keys to a lot of different parts of this here, but you can truly change, right, health outcomes, right, and educational outcomes through, I truly believe, right, social media. It's a weird time right now where you can sit here and go live stream on social media for absolutely free, and then it goes down in the Internet Archive of forever, right? And you can sit there and actually talk to people. That's, it's a privilege and a blessing to be able to do that with you guys now and share information. I want to make all my patients and communities smarter, happier, healthier, all of it, more educated and more aware. But really what was cool here is showing, right, how health literacy in middle-aged people and older people, this was internationally talking about Russia, right, and India, but, how it is demonstrated, right, through different means. And here, this specific study was looking to identify the most effective way to provide information for the education of patients with hypertension in primary prevention using a social network. So again, this is all the right modules that were in the presentation, the different training materials, educational materials, and how they went out. But what I'm getting at here is the results, right, and the conclusions that it draws. So it was interesting because, right here, social media sharing information in the form of a video clip of up to 5 minutes followed by a text post of up to 4,000 characters in this study showed us the most effective way to inform people with hypertension about the primary prevention of, right, cardiovascular diseases on social media. So, what does that mean for people with an audience? What does that mean for, even our Department of Health and things like that, where maybe you'll see an article every now and then, or even to our, news media outlets who will often do a, story accompanied by an article, and they're probably almost, the most traditional style of somebody that's going to do it that way. However, they're not necessarily providing out the most educational material all the time. Some is good resource, but again, right, teachers, people that actually learn how to teach and share material as well, how can you get your message across? Even the, the person that may not think that you are, right, a teacher, whatever platform that you might have, if you know things that people do not know, right? Again, like we were talking about reverse mentoring, right? How do you get, somebody else that might be older than you to learn a new skill and teach them? This could be an interesting thing here. A video clip of 5 minutes with, again, text post of up to 4,000 characters to follow up, right? So again, studying on, social resources here, which is this is what we're talking about. The World Health Organization, or the WHO, recognizes, right, social resources as a valuable agent for behavior change and health promotion. The development of digital technologies and the ever-increasing usage of social media determine their potential to provide information and social support for people with various non-communicable diseases. This is why social media are being increasingly used as an educational resource in healthcare. The use of social media for learning and education has already proven effective in obesity and diabetes mellitus. More extended use of social media communications and telemedicine for the clinical management of hypertension would be useful. Again, that's why I'm coming out here every single day, hammering out as much free, useful information as humanly possible. Let's get people thinking in the right way. Nobody necessarily lives their life thinking about their health all the time, but to be a little mindful about, whether it's aging or hypertension or diabetes, and mixing it all together, giving you new information and resources, that's, something I truly, truly want to do. And again, otherwise, we're fighting the preventative outcomes of New Mexico being, or Doña County being, 14.8% diabetes rates, almost the highest in the state of New Mexico, some of the highest in the country. Our education, our socioeconomic levels continue to struggle. Well, what can we do through a free thing like internet to help, teach each other and be just a little bit better? We can do it for sure. So it's a weird time right now. But again, I think this is a very important message here for talking about, health resources, things like that, use it in all different ways. And again, I'm going to move into the next one here for you guys, which is going to be our, Enlightenment Hour. And so again, in our Enlightenment Hour, I'm going to be talking about the importance of the mind-body connection. And again, give me, 2 seconds while this loads or doesn't load and acts funny. It's going to be a little longer for you guys, but it's going to be a resource. I'm looking. Oh my gosh. Are we going to hit it or are we not going to hit it? Sorry, excuse me while I get a little bit flustered here. Appreciate whoever's hanging on. But again, you can come watch it later, if anything. That's getting right now. All right. I'm calming down. The power of the mind-body connection. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Dr. Caroline Leaf, and welcome to this quest on how to manage anxiety and depression. In lesson 1, I'm going to be covering the psychoneurobiology, or the mind-brain-body connection. These are 3 different things. So psycho means mind, neuro is brain, and biology is the body. Now, these are 3 separate things, but totally interconnected. So the first thing I'm going to do is help you to understand the difference between the mind and the brain and the body, this psychoneurobiology. You see, where your mind goes, your brain and body follow. Where your mind goes, your life follows. So if we don't know what our mind is and how it drives the brain and the body, an unmanaged mind will mean an unmanaged brain, an unmanaged body, and an unmanaged life. And we don't have to live like that. So let's start by understanding the difference between the mind and the brain. The first prop I have here is a brain, as you can see. And this is not your mind. Most people think that the mind and the brain are the same thing, but they're not. The mind is completely different to the brain. The brain is our physical organ that responds to the mind. So the brain is a responder. It's a reactor. If you're dead, your brain does nothing. It just disintegrates. But the fact that you're actually alive and listening to this quest and learning this information is because of your mind. Your mind is your aliveness, and it drives the brain. So when we die and our mind goes wherever, our brain disintegrates. So the brain without the mind is not doing anything. So the brain can't produce the mind. It can't produce thoughts. It can't produce anything unless you're alive. So your mind is your aliveness that drives the brain, and then the brain responds. And you can control that response, which is so amazing. And that's what you're going to be learning in this quest. So when we talk about things like anxiety and depression, you're going to really understand in this quest what those are and how you can learn to manage them and what they do in your brain and what you with your mind can do to change the impact of anxiety and depression on your brain. Because every experience, including what you're having now, which is learning about this, is an experience that your mind actually filters into your brain and your brain responds. Your brain actually changes structure moment by moment as you are hearing this information and changes the actual structure of the brain, and that's called neuroplasticity. What you're seeing is your mind moving through your brain and your brain responding. So the brain is extremely complex because your mind is extremely complex. So this orange fire light that you see going through your brain is because you are alive. So this is an alive person connected to very advanced brain technology, and their brain is responding to whatever they're thinking about, whatever they're experiencing in that moment. And this is what's happening all day long. Life experiences are being put into your brain by your mind, and then your brain is responding on an electromagnetic, electrochemical, quantum, and genetic level. So you literally take life's experiences and put those into your brain with your mind, and your brain then responds and changes structure, which, as I've mentioned, is called neuroplasticity. And here we can see another view of this, of what happens as you're thinking and feeling and choosing with your mind in response to the life experience. As you think, feel, and choose, it's generating all that activity. And then the last thing to happen in that sequence is a genetic response. And when the genetic response happens, it actually changes the physical structure of the brain, as I mentioned. So what you're looking at now is that physical change. This is literally what is happening in your brain as you are listening to me. This information is going in your brain, that orange fire's kind of set up, and then there's a collapsing of what we call the quantum wave into an action, which you see on the screen, which is little proteins forming that are holding the information in vibrations and growing. So this is happening really fast. You do this at about 400 billion actions per second. So what you're looking at on the screen is a thought. It is the product of the mind, you with your mind interacting with the world. So now the mind has got different divisions. And these divisions are good to understand. In fact, really important to understand, because you'll see how much power you actually have inside of your mind to drive these changes. The biggest part of your mind is the non-conscious, N-O-N, non-conscious. It operates 24/7. It operates at speeds faster than 400 billion actions per second. And it is taking in 100% of your environment. It never sleeps. It is the part of your mind that helps you to respond to life while you're awake and build it into the brain. And it's also the part of your mind that when you're sleeping at night sorts out what you have built during the course of the day in order to actually prepare you for the next day. It's also the part of your mind that searches through all your experiences, finding the ones that are impacting you in a negative way, and push those and literally grabs those experiences, the ones that are the most dominant, that are really worrying you, kind of orders them, and the ones that are stopping you functioning in the best way that you can, those are then literally grabbed by your non-conscious mind and pushed through the second part of your mind, which is the subconscious. So if you think of the non-conscious as this huge forest of all these trees, and each tree represents an experience that you've had. And at this point, there could be trillions of trees in that forest. And your non-conscious mind scans those and finds the trees that maybe don't look as healthy and that are influencing how you are functioning. And it kind of grabs those and pushes those through the subconscious. So the subconscious is like a bridge between the non-conscious and the conscious mind. So when we learn to pay attention to what's coming from our non-conscious through the subconscious, we can actually start changing our mind, to change our brain, to change our body. So, for example, if there's something like big intrusive thought that is really blocking how you're functioning, that is what the non-conscious mind will grab, push it through the subconscious into your conscious mind, and your conscious mind then is prompted to become aware of that. And as soon as you are aware of this stuff coming from the non-conscious, you can then do something about it. So these three parts work together. The non-conscious is always working 24/7. During the day helps you build life into your brain and body and mind, and at nighttime sorts out what you've built. The subconscious is a bridge between the non-conscious and the conscious mind. The subconscious and the conscious mind are only awake when you're awake. Otherwise, they're asleep. We can only really fix and change things when we are consciously awake. And so everything I'm going to be teaching you on this quest is going to help you with that. The unconscious mind is a state of mind. So if you are, it's not doing anything. It's basically if you're asleep, or if you're under anesthesia, or if you've been knocked out by a baseball bat or something, that's the unconscious mind. All of this is based on research that I've done over the past 38 years, and this is a theory that I've developed called the geodesic information processing theory. You do not have to remember this or understand this. I just show you this to show you that what I'm teaching you is based on scientific and clinical research over the past 38 years. So when I talk about mind management, I'm talking about how we can learn to self-regulate what is actually going on in our lives through developing the connection between these different levels of the mind. And we can learn to do that. It's actually quite incredible, but you can train yourself to manage your mind. So it's almost like your mind manages your mind. And that's literally what I'm going to be teaching you to do. We are always changing. Every moment of every day, we are always changing. Your cells are always dividing. You're always making new cells. From the moment of conception, cells started dividing. And even today, even in this moment, you are still making cells. In fact, you are making 800,000 to 1 million new cells every second. And those cells group together to form your organs. Your organs group together to form your body systems. So if that's the case, how you manage your mind is actually driving how those cells divide, the quality of the cell division and the quality of the cells that you make, and therefore the quality of and health of your body. So what we see in the science of psychoneurobiology, which is the mind-brain-body connection, is that if you manage your mind, you are actually learning how to manage your body health, your brain health, and therefore your life. Because how your mind, brain, and body interact then produces how you show up in life. So this is really hopeful because it means that we're not victims of our biology. We can actually overcome our biology. I've done a lot of work and research with people with traumatic brain injuries and autism and severe learning disabilities and chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is people that have experienced brain damage from sports injuries and repeated concussions and stroke victims. And I say that to tell you that even with major neurological damage, when you manage your mind, you can regrow and change the structures of your brain and improve the health of your body and therefore improve the health of your life. I'm not saying that it's a simple process at all, and I'm not saying that it's just change your mind and suddenly your brain and body are going to change. It's cumulative over time. It's momentary changes that build and accumulate into lifestyle changes. So with that in mind management becomes essential, and it's an area that we don't pay enough attention to. We can develop the skill of mind management as we are learning how to understand how the mind works. So when it comes to things like depression and anxiety, we are kind of led to believe that depression is a thing and anxiety is a thing, almost like a biological damage to our brain. Now, I'm going to go into this in more depth in one of the other lessons. But for right now, I want to give you a little bit of a better understanding of anxiety and depression and link this back to mind management. Anxiety and depression are not they're not final things, they're not brain diseases, they're not chemical imbalances. Depression and anxiety are emotions. In fact, they're emotional warning signals telling you that something is going on inside of you. You haven't had an experience, or you are having an experience that is throwing you off course. So anxiety and depression are emotional warning signals that are responses to life experiences. And how did you even get to be aware of anxiety and depression? Because of your non-conscious mind. You see, your non-conscious mind was scanning all the experiences of your life that have been built into your mind-brain-body connection. Your non-conscious mind is honestly your best friend. It's on your side. It is searching to find what is holding you back. And then change happens as the non-conscious connects with the conscious mind. Mind management enables you to start tuning in to develop this connection. And so when the non-conscious finds something toxic that's upsetting you and throwing you off course, it pushes it, as I mentioned already, through the subconscious into the conscious mind. And anxiety and depression are examples of how we can consciously become aware of something that's going on in our life. So therefore, instead of seeing anxiety and depression as a problem, see anxiety and depression as messengers that if you embrace them, you can find the message behind the messenger, and you can actually then be empowered to take control over them. And this is what I've shown in my research. So anxiety and depression don't come from a brain disease, and as I said, we'll discuss that in more depth in one of the other lessons. What we see is that anxiety comes from things like trauma and sexual abuse and physical abuse and recent loss of a job and sickness and bullying and social environmental issues and socioeconomic issues, life things that are happening, COVID. These are adverse experiences that we build into our brain and mind and body, and they work against us. So therefore, our non-conscious mind works with the immune system to help us to be able to recognize those. So essentially, think of the immune system as an example. The immune system, we all understand from having gone through COVID and the pandemic and still going through these things and disease management and so on, that when something enters our body, the immune system is activated to go and fight that issue. We all understand that. It builds an immune response by recognizing that there's something wrong and reads what's wrong, and it tries to build little soldiers that fight that. Now we get that, but did you know that your immune system, alongside and along with your non-conscious mind, recognizes the toxic and adverse experiences that you've had in your life in exactly the same way as it would see a pathogen like the COVID virus? So in other words, it responds in the same way. So the non-conscious mind activates a response in the immune system of the brain and body, and then the immune system of the brain and the body go to the site of damage. In this case, it's not a pathogen. In this case, it's an actual toxic experience. It's a physical change in the brain that is dysfunctional, and because this is not good for survival of the body, the immune system of the brain works with the mind to try to fix that. And if we know how to recognize the signals, of which anxiety and depression are two main signals, emotional warning signals, telling us that there's something going on, if we tune into those through mind management, we can then start tracking back and finding the thought that this is coming from, and then we can deconstruct it and reconstruct it. And that's basically the essence of mind management. So I'm going to just tell you a little bit quickly about one of my case studies from a recent clinical trial that I've done. What you're looking at on the screen is what we call head maps from a technology called QEEG, which helps to look at how the non-conscious mind is pushing information through the brain and how the brain is responding. And what we want is a gray color, which shows a very balanced flow of energy in the brain, and it means you're managing your mind. And what you see here in the first row, which is at day 1 of this clinical trial, this particular person is very depressed, wanting to give up on life. We see a lot of blue. And so the blue tells us that there's very low energy in the brain. And when there's low energy in the brain, the different parts of the brain don't work well, which means the body's not going to work well. And that was evident in this person's physical health, their mental health, and their sleep patterns, etc. We gave them mind management, and they did mind management over a period of 63 days. At day 21, which was at the first 3-week point, which is the second row, you see that the brain is starting to go gray. So in just 3 weeks of learning to manage their mind, already the balance of energy in the brain had started sorting itself out. And already there were physical changes and sleep improvement and all kinds of things. By day 63, which is the time it takes to rewire thoughts in the brain, doesn't take 21 days. It takes 3 cycles of 21 days, so 63 days. So by day 63, we see a nice stabilized point where this person is no longer saying, I am depressed. They are saying, I am depressed because of the childhood trauma that they went through, which is the reason why they were so depressed, and they had suppressed it. And they were getting to the point where they weren't frightened of the anxiety and depression. They were seeing it as a messenger. So now what I'd like you to do is an exercise that I'm going to practice with you now, and then you can do this during the course of the week. So the technique that I want you to do is to train yourself to listen with your deliberately and intentionally with your conscious mind, to listen to the thoughts coming through the subconscious from the non-conscious. The unconscious, remember, is your best friend and it's searching, okay? So we've got to train ourselves. In the busyness of life, we just have all kinds of thoughts coming up. We have about 18,000 to 50,000 thoughts coming up and being built into our brain in any one day. But you can train yourself to tune into those important messengers. So I want you to try and listen to the 5 to 7 thoughts that move through the subconscious in a moment of time. So allocate a moment of time, so a minute or so, or 30 seconds, and just close your eyes and just focus on what is coming up, what thoughts are coming into your conscious mind. And then you open your eyes and then write them down. And then you can repeat that as many times as you want. So as you practice that exercise, you are training yourself to become more tuned in and setting up a network in your brain that is going to help you be much more aware of the warning signals coming through attached to the thoughts that are moving from the unconscious through to the subconscious mind. If you can try and find 7 30-second points or 1-minute points during the course of your day for at least 7 days, you will be absolutely astounded at how tuned in you will become to those thoughts that are coming through from the unconscious to the conscious, and start becoming aware of the emotional warning signals attached to them. So I'd love you to go out there and do this 7 times a day, at least for a minute each time. And I'd love you to just share your experiences with the tribe. It'll be fun for you to see what other people are experiencing and very insightful as well for you. So share with the tribe. And the next lesson, I'm going to be teaching you about what a thought is and how to manage intrusive thought.
Cool. So I hope everybody sees exactly what she's saying there, because she said it way better than me. But again, guys, in terms of mind management, being a manager of your mind, it's a very interesting concept because, again, as her exercise alluded to there at the end, do a 5 to 7, quiet time and write down your actual thoughts. Like, do some people are they even aware of their triggers of anxiety or depression? Well, what are the instant cures for some of those things? Like, hey, do that activity, or, whatever, crush that frog, build that boundary, or one of those things or another. But there's fixes. You don't have to live in that hole forever, as you saw, those brain waves literally change there again, just previously. So moving on to the next one, guys, talking about training in Canadian nurses and the preparedness here. This is just another thing I think it's really important to discuss. Looking at, again, many Canadian nurses don't receive any training on the use of medical cannabis. And where we are right now, New Mexico may be a little bit more progressive. Like the University of New Mexico, I think, is doing a cannabis class. I don't know how much it's a part of the curriculum and things like that, but at least, these things are offered. You can, if you're a healthcare provider, you can buy and pay for continuing education regarding cannabis and things like that. But again, you're not going to have a block on the endocannabinoid system in, school, whether it's medical school, nursing school, pharmacy school, such as that you would the cardiovascular system, right? So on and so forth. So the endocannabinoid system is its own major organ system. Again, the 6th major organ system unofficially. And it's very important to, notice that many of our doctors may still be very naive when it comes to cannabis, and that's completely okay, right? They were not supposed to be a part of it, things like that. I've heard from nurses even here in town that, working for the hospitals, they are not to associate with cannabis. They are not to write medical cards for cannabis. They are a federally funded institution, this, that, and the other. So again, at that point, you're not going to obviously be receiving any knowledge when it comes to cannabis. And I thought this was very important by the national normal, just talking about, out of Canada here, fewer than 4 in 10 Canadian nursing students say that they receive information about the use of medical cannabis during their training. So where we're going over here to, again, ensure an industry of bud tenders and business owners educate the entire world on cannabis, our healthcare providers and our institutions need to step up, and it needs to get in there. It needs to be something that somebody can actually talk to about with their doctor. Things like, chronic pain and reducing opioid doses by 50% are really, really important, But if your doctor doesn't even know how to have that conversation, what is the use? Why are we even here? Again, so that's our Herbal Wellness Corner for you guys. Canadian nurses preparedness. Maybe, some nurses go to school and they might believe that, hey, I really think cannabis could be an opportunity in X, Y, or Z therapy for X, Y, or Z patient, whether it's hospice care, cancer, some of these things, but you have to be muted to your opinion in that wherever you work, because your job may literally be at risk. We've got 2 hospitals in town. You don't have very many options to work. Granted, I guess nurses can work in other places, but again, this goes for every other provider and everybody else. If you're going to be here for life in the city of Las Cruces, you don't want to go put your license on the line talking about cannabis when this is still such a new thing, quote unquote, here I am. So anyways, that's my spiel on that. I think there should just be more and more education that continues to get out there. Our healthcare providers need to be able to talk to our patients about cannabis, so on and so forth. Cool. So jumping on, guys, community spotlight. Going to be spotlighting today a fundraiser here for recovering a impounded car for one of my patients. And she messaged me about this. They're trying to get this thing out of here for Isaiah and Kenzie. Their car was impounded for 2 late payments. Kenzie is still wanting to sell her new iMac, but hopefully won't have to if people can help them out. So they're trying to, catch a bit of luck, poor souls. And I'm going to go ahead and put the link here. If anybody feels like blessing them, be a blessing. You never know when you may need it too. All right, guys, and I'm going to be quick here on my Men's Health Minute. It's going to be just a minute because I'm going to be driving to El Paso to go to Vado Speedway Park and do a nice little live stream. Actually at Casey Minks Motorsports racing facility there. So for Vado Speedway Park, not at Vado, sorry. Anyways, Men's Health Minute, talking about laughter, nature's best medicine for men's mental health. So again, looking at things here, I'll share this with you guys right here. Just some quick, reasons why laughter is some of the best medicine, and looking how to harness the actual powerful benefits of laughter, so on and so forth. Strengthens your immune system, boosts mood, diminishes pain, protects you from the damaging effects of stress, relaxes the body, protects the heart by improving the function of blood vessels and increases blood flow, which can help protect you against a heart attack. Burns calories, 10 to 15 minutes a day, can be burning up to 40 calories. Again, it's weight loss is all about calories in and calories out. But again, when you're looking at all the compounding effects of burning calories, endorphins, feeling happier, better blood flow, promoting longer life, guys. If you don't have any reasons to laugh in your life, go find some. It's worth it, right? Think about it. Physical benefits, boosting immunity, lower stress hormones, decreases pain, relax your muscle, prevents heart disease, mental health benefits, social benefits, right? The link between laughter and mental health here helps you stop distressing emotions, help you relax and recharge, helps shift perspective and draw you closer to others. It's pretty simple message there. But again, Men's Health Minute, don't forget to laugh, guys. Enjoy that. Otherwise, I'll see the rest of you guys on the Vado Speedway Park live stream here in about 45 minutes to an hour.